Shalom, shalom. I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakak, Dash. Brothers, I saw a clip from this brother's channel. It's called Enduring These Last Days Too. And of course, we see none other than our antagonist, the Hebrew-like antagonist, which is basically he's light work no matter what he does, right? Because he can do nothing against the truth but for the truth, right? So he made a statement how he's going to debunk the Israelites of Virginia Hill. Let's get into what he has to say. Listen very closely, and then we'll dive right in.
You name your place Israel Hill doesn't mean you thought you descended from Israelite.
I'm about to play again.
I have seen this popular meme claiming that these folks knew they were Israelites. I'm here on site to debunk it. Short version, just because you name your place Israel Hill doesn't mean you thought you descended from Israelite.
Now, part of the curses is understanding that we will forget our heritage, right? We forget who we were as a nation. We will forget who who our power is. We will fall away from our laws, our statutes, and commandments, right? So that's not uncommon, right? There's nothing to debunk there. But also know that through Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, he always kept a remnant of us, right? That always knew the truth as well. Now, with that being said, let's jump right into what he's looking at behind him. Let's go here. Now, you have to ask yourself, who put this here, right? The state put this here, right? The governing bodies, right? Because we don't have any power to put that there. But anyway, let's move that on. Let's move on from there. As it states at the very top of the screen, this is the historical marker, right? Okay? And it reads, Free Blacks of Israel Hill. And it states, just to the west lies Israel Hill, settled in 1810 through 1811 by approximately 90 former enslaved persons who received freedom and 350 acres from Judith Randolph under the will of her husband, Richard Randolph, cousin of Thomas Jefferson. These Israelites, who they're referring to, they're referring to the 90 former individuals that were enslaved. These Israelites and other free black African Americans worked as farmers, craftsmen, approximatacs, river boatmen. Some labored along whites for equal wages and defended their rights in court. What you have to understand is, even when it says other free African Americans, that's also part of the curse too as well. We will be called proverbs and bywords, right? African Americans, blacks, Negroes, colored, niggas, so on and so forth. That's a part of it. So when you read statements like that, the scriptures should come to life. But nevertheless, you can look this up further in your own time, right? But let's go from there, right? So vocab, we'll go from Virginia, and let's go all the way down to Puerto Rico. What was discovered in Puerto Rico? 800 ancient stones with Hebrew writing in Puerto Rico authenticated. This was found by a professor, right? And what does it say? A remnant of ancient stones, 20 of 800, made its way halfway across the world, solving a 3,500-year-old mystery. What did these stones whisper about the pre-Columbian indigenous people of the island of Puerto Rico? After rigorous academic testing, I'm gonna struggle with this word a little bit. Anthropologists, historians, academics, and millions of Puerto Ricans finally have scientific evidence that reveals the language of the stones, right? Now here's a picture of those people, which is I'm just guessing as a man here. That could potentially be the tribe of Reuben, right? Maybe Issachar. I'm not sure, but you can see the fringes around his knees, right? Okay, let's come from there, vocab. So now let's go to Georgia, vocab. And again, YouTube, I'm using this information under the Fair Use Act for edification purposes. I don't make any money off this. Let's go.
This is First African Baptist Church, the oldest black church in North America. The building, built by slaves. The gentleman that laid the first brick laid the last. The balcony hold pews that actually were built by slaves. They have the oldest information in this building. That information is written in cursive Hebrew writing.
Now, Vocab, my question to you is, slaves were never taught to read and or write, but she told you that the building was built by slaves. She said the first brick and the last brick was laid by a slave who knew how to build and knew how to read and write in Hebrew, Paleo-Hebrew, Vocab. Were these individuals not Israelites? Were they not the children of Israel? How do you think they knew how to speak, read, and write in Hebrew, Vocab? Just a question.
Downstairs, the air holes that the people, when they hid beneath the floors, they were able to use are actually African prayer symbols. This building was built during the night hours. It was also not only used as a place of worship, but it was used as a place to help out on the Underground Railroad. One of the greatest missions, I believe, ever taken out and carried through was handled beneath the floors of First African Baptist Church. There are many items in here that now stands as proof of the Underground Railroad. In the ceiling of the church is a code that this building is used as a safe place, and that code is 9-patch.
Hey, Vocab, that secret code that our ancestors used to communicate with each other, what language do you think that was written in as well? I need you to debunk that also, Vocab.
9-patch is a quilt symbol that was used during the Underground Railroad to identify safe places. So that 9-patch was placed right in the ceiling of the First African Baptist Church in plain view. If you're interested in getting a tour of this church, you're welcome to come to First African Baptist on Franklin Square, or you can call 233-6597, and you will be welcome to have a tour.
Okay, Vocab. So we have Virginia, we have Puerto Rico, right? We have Georgia. Okay, let's go from there, Vocab. Let's go to hold on, Vocab. I got an artifact. I want a fact, not an artifact, but I have an article, Vocab. Just some more facts to bring out to help you along your way here. Right, the first Africans in Virginia landed in 1619. Right. I mean, you can look this up too, Vocab. The first slave ships came to Virginia, Vocab. Okay? So just like we saw with those slave ships that came to Georgia, right? They were Hebrews. They were slaves that were Hebrews that could read and write and communicate in Paleo-Hebrew, Vocab. I mean, Vocab, you got a lot of work to do here, man. You got a lot of work to do here, man. Oh, boy. Let me come out of this. Let's go to Vocab. Let's go to Ohio, right? And this is the findings that were discovered in Ohio by by potentially the tribe of Gad, one of the so-called Native American tribes. Let's see what language they spoke in. Let's see how they wrote too as well, right? And again, YouTube under the Fair Use Act. I'm using this clip here to edify. Let's jump right into it.
In 1860, David Wyrick, he's a guy who surveyed the Newark earthworks. He was digging into a mound near those earthworks, and he found a wooden coffin made of oak. They opened up the coffin and found a skeleton of a man holding a little box. It was about 8.10 inches in size. The box had been cemented shut here. This, by the way, is sitting in Ohio. Well, he opened up the box and he found a little man inside, a little black stone. They took it to scholars, and they looked at it. The man seems to be carrying something, and there's writing here. At first, they couldn't recognize. The writing is, they thought in 1860, some sort of Hebrew. Well, finally, about 20 years later, they found some rabbis living in the area, and the rabbis looked at that, and they could read it. They said it was an old kind of block Hebrew, and it was a rendition of the 10 Commandments. Now, this is another piece. Block Hebrew, they said they'd never seen anything like it. Mainstream archaeologists at the time called this a hoax. But then in 1900, or just about after 1900, in Israel. They found the same block-style Hebrew writing. Mainstream archaeologists still dismiss the findings. They found it in Israel, and they found it in Ohio. But there was another stone that they found that they couldn't argue. This is the Bat Creek stone. It was found during the course of an official Smithsonian evacuation. The Smithsonian didn't understand the meaning of the writing on the stone. They thought it was Cherokee, since it came from Cherokee country. They didn't realize that it's actually Hebrew. They had published this originally upside down. They threw it in a box at the bottom of the Smithsonian, put it in the basement. Many years later, a scholar took it out of the box, looked at it, and went, oh my gosh, it's upside down. It's Phoenician, ancient Hebrew. They opened up.
Vocab. Man, you got a lot of homework to do, man. You got a lot of work to do, man. You know? Let's go from there, Vocab. Let's go from there. Vocab, let's go to Mexico, right? And Vocab, you are privy to this knowledge. You're aware of this, okay? This is the Los Lunas Decalogue stone, right? This is in Mexico, Vocab, all right? All the way down in Mexico, right? Also known as the Los Lunas Decalogue stone and Commandments Rock. It is an 80-ton boulder of volcanic basalt, bears an inscription which is believed to be an abbreviated version of the 10 Commandments written in Hebrew, Vocab. Hey, Vocab, how did that get there? Well, I'll tell you how it got there, right? Because wasn't that part of the curses, Vocab, that we would be subject to slavery and scattered to the four corners of the earth? Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68. The Lord will send you back in ships to Egypt, which is Babylon the Great. All the locations we covered so far have been Babylon the Great. Okay? On a journey I said you would never make again. But we were a rebellious house of Israel. We rebelled against our Lord, our power. Therefore, there you will offer yourselves for sale to your enemies as male and female slaves, but no one will buy you. And what that's basically going to is no one will be able to redeem us, Vocab. You've seen this breakdown many, many times. Not Marcus Garvey, not Malcolm X, not Martin Luther King, not Black Lives Matter, not kneeling on one knee, no sort of protest. Nothing can redeem us out of this curse, because the Lord has to redeem us when he comes back upon his returning. Because the scriptures tell us when he returns, nothing will no longer be a curse. And that's meaning his people, because we're going to rule as a nation of people. But something I want to get into, Vocab, is why is everything carved on stones, Vocab? And it states clearly all throughout our law. Let's get right into it. Deuteronomy chapter 11, verse 19. And it reads, teach them to your children. Talk about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road, when you lie down and when you get up. Here's the most important part, Vocab. Write them on the door frames of your house and on your gates. Vocab, that's Indian artifact, right? He was holding the book of the law, and also he had the Hebrew in Paleo-Hebrew writing written around what? The doorpost that he was actually in that box, right? Let's go from there, because that was a common practice of ours. Let's get it again. Deuteronomy chapter 27, verse 8. You shall write very clearly all the words of this law on these stones you have set up. Interesting, right? Let's go to Deuteronomy 27 and 2. When you have crossed the Jordan into the land your God, when you have crossed the Jordan into the land the Lord, Yahweh, your power is giving you, set up large stones and coat them with plaster. You should do what? Write on them all the words of this law. When you have crossed over into the Jordan, over to enter the land Yahweh, your power is giving you, a land flowing with milk and honey, just as the Lord, your power of your ancestors promised you. So the point I'm getting at here, Vocab, that's a common practice, no matter where we go. Mexico, Ohio, right? Virginia. What else did we look at today, vocab? Georgia, right? It's a common practice for us to do as people. Let's get it one more time, vocab. And Joshua. Joshua chapter 8, verse 32, right? There, in the presence of what's happening here, right? Let me see if I can get that precept to come back up. All right, let's see here. Let's get it. Let's see if we can get it to come back up. Phone hadn't been acting strange all day, but now it's, but that's the devil, right? He's the principality of the air, right? I had no issues with my phone, and now all of a sudden my phone does this. Let me see if I can. There we go, brothers. Call on Yahweh Shemi Al Shai. Joshua 8 and 32, and it reads, there in the presence of the Israelites, Joshua wrote on stones a copy of the law of Moses, right? So we've seen that several times throughout these clips here. Vocab, there's no way around it, man. In Mexico, there's no way around it. Israelites in Virginia, okay? Hebrew stones, 800 of them. In Puerto Rico, vocab, how do we deal with this? As we saw here in Ohio. Vocab, you got a lot of homework to do, my man. As we saw here in the First African Baptist Church in Savannah, these were Israelites here, vocab. Man, vocab, you got a lot of work to do, man. You got a lot of homework, a lot of studying to do, man. It's overwhelming evidence, vocabs, that shuts you the hell up, man. Okay? All right, vocab. Hold on, let me go back, man. You just look silly at this point, man. Let me tell you something, man. You are the damn Mr. Potato Head, man. Because you make a mockery and a fool of your damn self, man. And my question to you is, man, why do you always have that damn hat on your head while you're prophesying, man? Those are scriptures tells you any man that covers his head, right, dishonors his head, okay? But yet you still do this weird shit, man. You like that little kid in high school that's looking for attention from the upperclassmen, man. You just, at this point, you're just a nuisance. You like that irritating gnat or fly at the barbecue or at the picnic or that got in the house that you're just annoying everyone. All right. Hopefully, brothers, this has been edifying. Vocab, you got a lot of homework to do, my man. Shalom.